Hey everybody, welcome to McLean Church Online. My name is Chris Norris. I am the online site pastor here. Truly a privilege to be spending some time with you today in the digital space. You know, my family was sick over the last couple weeks, and I cannot say how much it meant to us to be able to stay connected with our church family. Tuning in online was a blessing for us, and hopefully today, no matter where you're watching or how you're watching, it is a blessing to you to be able to be a part of what's happening here at McLean Church Online. We've got a great service in store for you. If this is your very first time watching online, welcome. Please do introduce yourself. Tell us where you're watching from and how you heard about McLean Church. For those returning, we're glad you're back. Welcome to McLean Church Online. You know, today Pastor Brian will finish his series on the book of Ecclesiastes, and we will eat some turkey and pumpkin pie, and then we're in Advent, which is the 4-week preparation for Christmas. Now, last week we told you about an opportunity to provide gifts for children in need, and wow, did you, by no surprise, step up in a big way. We only have a handful of tags left, so if you missed out last week and you'd like to get involved, just click the tab at the top of the screen that says Gifts. Or if you're watching on YouTube or television, or maybe you're listening on the radio, just go to mcleanchurch.org/MCO for all the details about how you can take part. Thank you so much for helping to show love and encouragement to these children during the holiday season. It's exciting to see all of you online each and every week, and to know that people are experiencing our gatherings in a variety of ways each week. And of course, we want to be sure that you are aware of another way that you can participate with McLean Church Online. Each week, our teaching pastor writes what are called the Talk It Over questions, and these lead us into a deeper understanding of the week's message. You can find these questions on the sermon series page of our website at mcleanchurch.org, and now we're even offering a midweek Talk It Over life group on Zoom, where we recap the message and talk about how it affects our lives. Engaging in this kind of discussion and learning from others really helps us grow in our own faith and understanding. It's really easy to join this group, honestly, and everyone is totally welcome. Just go to mcleanchurch.org/MCO. Yes, that is the acronym for McLean Church Online, and let us know that you're interested. And then you'll receive an email confirmation with the Zoom link to join us on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A small group leader, likely myself, will be on hand to guide the discussion, which will last about 30 to 60 minutes. Make sure you join us to talk over what God is teaching us through our current message series, and of course to stay connected with one another through McLean Church Online. And now I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Brian Kelly for a special announcement.
Well, hey everyone, Pastor Brian here with just a couple things to share with you. First of all, as things start to settle back more into routine from the past few years, you could do us a huge favor by helping us know who you are and where you are. For the next few weeks, we're going to be conducting our Who and Where campaign, and here's what we're asking you to do. We're asking every person ages 14 and older who engages regularly in some way with McLean Church to let us know. And you can do that by going to our website and filling out a form that just shares with us some basic information and lets us know the primary way with which you engage with McLean Church. If you could take some time in the next few weeks to do that again by either going to our website or using our mobile app or completing one of the forms at our physical sites, that would be a great help to us. The other thing I'd like to share with you is that we've got a new version of McLeanware available to you, available for the holidays, even if you want to give as gifts. And this new version of McLeanware has a new slogan on it, Life by Life. We talk so much about the importance of realizing that the real important moments of life, they're not in the big stuff. They're in those life-by-life encounters, and this year's version of McLeanware reminds us of that principle. Here's how you can order a number of different styles of McLean gear. On our website or through our mobile app, you'll be directed to another website where you can order these items. Here's the deal though, they're only going to be available for order until December 1st. So if you'd like some McLean gear, make sure you go to our app or our website, sign up for any of the items that you'd like. Don't forget to complete that who you are and where you are form. Let us know who you are and where and how you're engaging in the life of McLean Church.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Now let's join Allie and the worship team as we continue together today.
Hey everybody, welcome to McLean Church. My name is Allie and I'm so happy that you are here worshiping with us today. Would you please join us in singing praise to our Heavenly Father?
Pick me up and turn me around, set my feet on solid ground, yours now forever. And nothing's gonna hold me back, nothing's gonna hold me back, nothing's gonna hold me back.
says in John 14, 1 through 4, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the place where I am going." Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I'm chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I'm chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. The Son sets free, oh, he's free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
Now, before we take our offering today, I want to ask you to set a reminder in your phones or on your calendar for Tuesday, November 30th, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. After hitting the stores on Black Friday and shopping online on Cyber Monday, we're asking that you remember Giving Tuesday, which is a movement that unleashes the power of radical generosity around the world. Now, we have an opportunity before us as a church that is going to cost us about $40,000. Pastor Brian is going to share more about this in the coming weeks, but I would just ask that you start praying today about what you might be able to do to help us reach that goal. Maybe it's one less meal out during the holidays, one less DoorDash, one less Black Friday deal. Your radical generosity on Giving Tuesday will really help us take a huge step forward as a church in the new year. And we're so excited, as always, to see how God will use each of us to make that happen. And as always, we make it very easy to give each and every week as part of the offering we take up on behalf of the church. And you can do that in a variety of ways. I would recommend using your smartphone and just going to mcleanchurch.org/give. As always, we appreciate your generosity.
Well, welcome everyone. It is the week of November 21st, 2021, Thanksgiving week, and hopefully you're excitedly making plans to celebrate Thanksgiving with friends and family. This week we're bringing to a close our series on the book of Ecclesiastes, Positively Depressed. And as we wrap this book up this week, it's my hope that we can take away some overall themes or ideas or appreciation for the book of Ecclesiastes, as well as really clearly hearing the message the author encapsulates in his final words in this book. So to start off, just a few words by way of review of what this book is. Remember, we said it's a piece of wisdom literature from the ancient world. It's more pessimistic, or actually quite pessimistic in tone, which a number of the wisdom writings from the ancient world are. This book tries to take seriously the downside of life, tries to take seriously life's challenging and discouraging moments. And in doing so, the author really makes two big points. First of all, I think he argues for the importance of embracing, affirming, living fully into life's difficult moments, the depressing times of life, the discouraging times of life, the defeated times of life. The author encourages us not to rush too quickly past or gloss over those realities, but to fully embrace and fully live into them. But the author does something else. The author argues that we see the present moment, this present now, as the opportunity for us to live with fulfillment and joy in life. Instead of thinking that our happiness is one thing away, one achievement away, one acquisition away, one accomplishment away, see instead the opportunity for happiness being in this present moment, in the now, living fully into the day that we have, instead of waiting for the day that will come or spending our time lamenting the day that is past. So, embrace the reality of life's difficulty, and at the same time live fully in the present, live fully in the now. And as we've read this book for the past few weeks, I hope it's given us an appreciation of three distinct things related to the biblical record. And the first is the diversity of the biblical record. You know, when we think of the Bible, oftentimes we think of it as all upbeat, all positive, sometimes denying the reality of the life that we're experiencing. And a book like Ecclesiastes surely shows us that understanding of the biblical record is wrong. The Bible contains a diversity of voices and a diversity of texts. And yes, there are some very positive parts of the Bible, but then there are books like Ecclesiastes that just try to deal honestly with the fact that life isn't always what we want it to be. And that's the second thing I hope we take away from the study of the book overall, is an appreciation for the biblical author's honesty. Particularly in books like Ecclesiastes, you have an author who is clearly a person of faith, writing from a faith tradition and faith background. But the author is honest enough to say that faith doesn't always make complete sense for him. It doesn't always resolve life's tensions. It doesn't always provide a simplistic answer to life's discouragement and life's defeat. And don't you appreciate the fact that the biblical record is filled with that honesty? These ancient authors are not trying to gloss over the reality of life. Books like this show us that they embraced it. And the third thing, and maybe this is the biggest takeaway that I hope we embrace from our study of this book, is an appreciation for the gray areas of life. You know, in our present day culture, we're so used to thinking in terms of either or. It's either this or it's that. But these ancient writers seem to have a much greater appreciation for the fact that life is not always so neatly divided. And that means that life can't always be reduced to simple formulaic approaches. There's not always 6 steps to a better you or 8 practices that will make you happy in the new year. It's not to deny that formulaic approaches aren't sometimes helpful, but these ancient authors, and particularly the author of Ecclesiastes, I think calls us to a much greater understanding and affirmation of life that tells us from a human perspective, we can't always neatly quantify it or categorize it. And maybe part of the beauty and part of the joy of living the human experience authentically is embracing that tension, embracing that unknown, and living fully into it. Well, those are some big ideas or some big takeaways from the book overall. Today we really want to focus on the conclusion of the book and really hear the author's final words, the author's final charge or final encouragement to us in terms of how we ought to live and approach life. And the conclusion of this book really begins in verse 7 of chapter 11 of the book. Now, just as a side, remember the chapter and verse markings are not part of the original text. They were added into the text much later as just a convenient way to reference different parts of the text. So this is a 12-chapter book by the way it's been divided. But the conclusion really begins in chapter 11, verse 7, and it runs through verse 8 of chapter 12. Now, there are several verses that follow in chapter 12, verses 9 through 14. It's almost the universal conclusion of scholars that these final verses were added later to the book by a later editor who maybe wanted to try to sanitize a little of what the original author was saying. There's some good stuff in those final words, but probably the author of the bulk of the book ends what he's saying in verse 8 of chapter 12. So what I want to do today is read through this final concluding statement. We'll make a few comments along the way as we read so that we can understand it. And then we're going to talk about what is this ancient author's message for us today. Before we read, just a couple of quick notes. Admittedly, the Hebrew of this section and really of much of the book, at places is very difficult to translate. And translators note a number of places in this text where they're not exactly sure what the ancient author was saying. They're making the best guess possible. This doesn't affect our overall understanding of the text. It just may lead you to read a couple phrases or lines and say, I'm not sure what the author means by that. Neither is anybody. The other thing to note is that this final section, although in many Bibles it's written as prose, it really has a more poetic feel or flow to it. It was perhaps constructed as an ancient poem, and I think you'll get the feel of that as we read through. So let me start in Ecclesiastes 11, verse 7. The author says, "Light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to see the sun." In the ancient world, light is often connected or paralleled with life. So the author is in essence saying, life is sweet and it is pleasant for the eyes to see the sun. Even those who live many years should rejoice in them all, yet let them remember that the days of darkness will be many. All that comes is vanity. The author here says, remember, life's going to have some dark moments, so enjoy the good ones while you have them. Rejoice, young man, while you are young, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Follow the inclination of your heart and the desire of your eyes, but know that for all these things God will bring you into judgment. Banish anxiety from your mind and put away pain from your body, for youth and the dawn of life are vanity, or they're elusive, they're fleeting. You can't hold on to them. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years draw near when you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Now watch what the author is going to do here. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened and the clouds return with the rain, in the day when the guards of the house tremble and the strong men are bent, and the women who grind cease working because they are few, and those who look through the windows see dimly, when the doors on the street are shut, and the sound of the grinding is low, and one rises up at the sound of the bird, and all the daughters of song are brought low, when one is afraid of heights and terrors are in the road, the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails, because all must go to their eternal home. What's the author painting a picture here? Poetically, he's painting a picture of aging. He's painting a picture of the passing of time. There's even a cosmic overtone here of the earth or the world coming to an end. Again, go back to verse 2. We're supposed to enjoy life before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened and the clouds return with rain, in the day when the guards of the house tremble. Maybe out of fear, maybe the trembling that comes with age, and the strong men are bent. Maybe they don't stand up as straight as they did in their youth. The women cease working because they are few, because that generation is dying. And those who look through the window see dimly because eyesight is failing. When the doors on the street are shut and the sound of grinding is low because you're no longer going out to engage in commerce and life like you were once able to do. And one rises up at the sound of a bird. Sleep is not as deep and as sweet as it once was, but you're waking at many different moments. The daughters of song are brought low. One is afraid of the heights. You no longer want to climb up the ladder to clean the gutters on your house. Terrors are in the road. Stop driving your car. The almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails, because all must go to its eternal home. The mourners will go about the streets before the silver cord is snapped and the golden bowl is broken and the pitcher is broken at the fountain and the wheel broken at the cistern. Images here, we're not quite certain what they mean. Most likely the idea of the golden bowl and the silver cord is a reference to an ancient lampstand. And the bowl no longer has oil in it, so the light is no longer burning. We know that for some reason, broken pottery or the smashing of pottery often accompanied ancient funeral customs. We know that because there's a lot of broken pottery that's found in ancient tombs. And so again, references to aging and to the point of death. And then the author says, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the breath returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the teacher, all is vanity. Do you remember where we first saw that phrase? Vanity of vanities, says the teacher, all is vanity. It's how the author opened the book in verse 2 of chapter 1. Now the author closes his portion of this book with the same statement as he's rehearsed the reality of the passing of time, the aging of life, and the certainty of death. The passing of time, the aging of our lives, and the certainty of our deaths. This is what the author wants us to take as we walk away from this book. He wants us to take away an awareness of the passing of time, the aging of our lives, the certainty of our deaths. And I want to suggest today that this voice, as depressing as it may seem and sound, is a voice that we very much need to hear. And here's why. We live at a point in time where two wonderful forces have come together that have brought much good and much hope, but which at the same time have a downside or a negative dimension to them. The two forces I'm talking about are Christianity or Christian faith and modern science. Think about it with me like this. Remember, this author is writing in the ancient world. He's writing probably some 400 or 500 years before Jesus. He's writing well before the New Testament, well before the development of Christian faith. He's writing in the ancient world where death is understood as the end. This life is what you have, and when you die, it's over, so you better make the most of this life. Jesus wonderfully expanded upon this idea to teach and to show that this life was not all there is, that there is life beyond death, that death is not the end, that death has been defeated. This is a central message of Jesus' teaching and of Jesus' life. Jesus rises from the dead as demonstrable proof that this life is not all there is, but there is life to come. And the New Testament authors will expand on Jesus' teaching. And while they don't talk a lot about the afterlife, what they do say about it is very good, very hopeful. And so writers like the Apostle Paul could say, if this earthly tent we live in is destroyed, which it will be, we have an eternal house in the heavens. We have a dwelling from God. Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you, a place that you can follow me to. And the author of the book of Revelation would describe the future in these glowing images and metaphors. It's wonderful and blissful, a place where there is no more sorrow, crying, mourning, or pain. And so every Christian funeral that we perform is a funeral performed with great hope, great belief, steadfast faith and confidence that death is not the end, but there is a life to come. The downside of that hope is that sometimes we as people of faith put more focus on the life to come than we put on the here and now. And some would even argue that that is a necessary and essential Christian perspective, and I would say nothing could be further from the truth. Just because there is a life to come does not in any way negate the significance of the life that is now. In just a few weeks, we're going to celebrate Christmas. We're going to celebrate God entering the life that is. Heaven coming into the present moment as a way not just to redeem this present life, but to affirm this present life and existence. This life is good enough and wonderful enough for God to enter it. And so, while we rightly celebrate a Christian hope of life after death, we sometimes wrongly put more of a focus on what is to come than on what is. And Christians have long recognized the danger of this tendency. We've all heard the phrase, so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. The tension of Christianity is to hold on to this hope of life after death while firmly embracing the goodness and the opportunity and the responsibility of the now. Now take this Christian faith and combine it with what modern science has given to us. Modern science has given to us a wonderfully, wonderfully death-defying experience. Things that meant the end of life, not just 100 years ago, but even years, months ago, are constantly being conquered by modern science and present-day medicine, which has given us a notion that life can go on forever. Our modern or present-day experience has brought us a death-defying reality, which is wonderful. Things that took lives regularly a century ago are unheard of or unfeared today because of advances we've made in these areas. But the downside of what has been achieved is that it has brought with us a notion that death is a reality that we'll never really have to face. And so I don't really have to worry about how I spend today because I'm pretty certain I'm going to have tomorrow. In the ancient world, that certainty wasn't there. But it is, or at least in an illusionary sense, present in our minds today. Now combine these two realities, Christian hope of a life after death with a death-defying cultural experience. Put those two together, and the unintended consequence is often that we don't live our days very intentionally, that we don't do a very good job at seizing the present moment, that we're always living under the illusion that I'll for sure have tomorrow. And if the right things happen tomorrow, then I can be happy, then I can be fulfilled, then I can be content. The ancient author's final statement says that is not a correct assessment or understanding of life. Because this life is going to end. We are going to die. And in light of that reality, we better make the most of every moment. Seize the day while you can, before, as this author describes, the passing of time and the aging of life and the approach of death makes seizing the present moment impossible. Now, a couple more thoughts about this. I think the best of Christian tradition has done a wonderful job of balancing both the reality of future hope and the importance of present engagement. And this, I think, is seen clearly in the epitaphs found on Christian tombstones of the 17th and 18th century. I had the privilege of going to graduate school outside of Boston and in New England. You know, there are some wonderfully old cemeteries. And you know, walks in old cemeteries are wonderfully healthy things for us to do because they remind us of the reality and brevity of life, just like this ancient author is trying to do. And as you note, Christian tombstones in that particular era, 17th and 18th century, a few things stand out. First of all is the epitaphs that are often written on the tombstones come in the form of warnings. I remember one tombstone in particular seeing in the Boston area that said something like this, let the passerby beware, as I am, you too will be. Talk about a reminder that life is short, that life is fleeting. But the other thing that's evident in these tombstones, particularly in the images or the iconography that's on the tombstones, is that often there's a reminder of the fleetingness of time, that time is short, that death is a reality for all, but that there is life beyond this present life. And often these images are in the form of like skulls with wings on them. Sometimes hourglasses are depicted on the headstone. The quick passing of time, the certainty of death, and the reality of life to come. Well, why did these ancient people of faith want to remind us of the passing of time and the certainty of death? Well, it was not simply to ready us for the life to come. It was to remind us of the importance of seizing the present moment. You don't know if you'll have tomorrow. So make the most of today. And I think it's sad as we moved from this death-affirming reality of maybe the 17th and 18th century to our present death-defying culture of the present moment. We've lost some of those powerful reminders that this life, this now, needs to be seized and embraced fully because the opportunity to live this life fully will not last forever. So let me talk briefly as we bring this study to a close about how we might apply these final thoughts of the author in our present day circumstances or our present day realities. And the opportunity to apply these things is perfect with what's coming up for us this week and in the next few weeks. We're approaching the holiday season. And what an opportunity to seize the moment and live with joy. But here's the challenge. In the challenges of the next few weeks, our pettiness will frequently compete with our ability to seize the moment and live fully in the now. And this ancient author, I think, would say, boy, with the season you folks have in front of you, there will never be a better time to think seriously about the fleetingness of life and the certainty of death, and to allow those truths to motivate you to fully embrace the present moment. The tendency we will have is to say, the house isn't as clean as I want it, so Thanksgiving's going to be terrible. Oh my, we didn't get everything that we wanted to get for the kids. This is going to be a disaster for Christmas. Or, oh, Aunt Martha and Uncle Ray are going to be at Thanksgiving dinner. This will be terrible. Or, I'm still so mad at my brother. How can I sit at the table with him and enjoy a holiday meal? Our pettiness will force away the ability to live for joy in the present moment, and we will justify it in our minds because we'll believe there's always going to be tomorrow. There'll always be next Thanksgiving. There'll always be next Christmas. The author of Ecclesiastes would say, don't be so sure. There just might not be. And while the Bible clearly affirms there is a life to come, that life to come does not guarantee the reworking or the re-experiencing of the present now. So guess what? If you're going to enjoy your family, this Thanksgiving is a chance to do it. If you're going to live with joy and happiness, no better time than this holiday season. If you're going to choose to overlook past offenses so relationships that are deeply meaningful to you and should be deeply meaningful can continue, now's the chance to do it. And please understand, none of this denies the reality of life's pain or disappointment. It just challenges us in the midst of it to think carefully about how we live this present day, because this moment is the only moment that's guaranteed to us. Close with a very practical suggestion. 3 country and western songs that you absolutely must listen to, because these 3 songs completely encapsulate what this ancient author is saying. The first, you already know. Live Like You Were Dying, Tim McGraw. Can't be a better statement anywhere of what the author is saying in the conclusion of this book. And then 2 by Trace Adkins that you must also listen to as well. You're going to miss this. And then they do. Live like you're dying. You're going to miss this. Then they do. Google those songs, write them down, listen to them. Let the music speak to your heart what this ancient author is calling us to remember. And always be mindful that while there is a life to come and a hope for the future, that does not negate the necessity of living fully into the now.
I've carried a burden
Well, as we put an end to this wonderful study from the book of Ecclesiastes, we're excited to jump into the Advent season beginning next week, and you're not going to want to miss this 4-week series covering topics, of course, like hope, peace, joy, and love, all leading us in to that celebration of Christmas. So don't miss out next week as we kick off our Advent series. And as always, stay connected to us here at McLean Church by visiting our website. We have so much going on, so many ways you can take part in the Christmas season. And as always, follow us on social media as well. We'll see you back here again next week at McLean Church Online.